Okay, the first part of any kind of water treatment is sedimentation, and basically that just means that you let the material settle out. And as you may be able to see here, even though the water is still turbid, you can see a lot of sediment has come out of solution. And that's always the first step of any kind of water treatment. The next step is typically filtration. So I'm just going to makeshift a reservoir and a filter. And this is just going to strain out some of the heavier solids that might still be in the solution, using just basic coffee filters. My concern is that the fines that are still in solution may be too fine for the coffee filter, but that's okay. So I'm going to double up on the filters. And also try not to resuspend any of the solids while I'm pouring this out. A little of that. Get those filters nice and wet. As you can see, the water is pretty turbid, and I think I've just resuspended my solids by carelessness. So let's just dump this in here and see how the filters work, and see if that can capture any of the fines. As you can see, there's still a lot of sediment in the bottom. And the trickle flow rate kind of lets you know that it's encountering a lot of resistance. So it's really getting jammed up with the sediment that probably got put back into suspension. And that's also another reason why you want to settle it out first before filtering, is to get the solids out so that it doesn't jam up your second and third stages, which of course the second stage being filtration. Now, the one thing about water and the discoloration in water is it could be that the particles are almost at an atomic level or molecular level, and they generally will not come out of solution very well. That would be part of the total dissolved solids versus the total suspended solids. Suspended solids are the ones, are those that can be settled out, and the dissolved ones are just the way the pretty much the description, dissolved. So it could be ions, it could be very small molecules, particularly color. Color is, you know, complex organic molecules, or sometimes complex, or sometimes inorganic molecules, but they have a hard time being filtered out and treated out in general. So having discolored water may not necessarily mean that it's bad. It just may mean that there is a material in there that cannot be filtered or screened out. Activated charcoal or carbon is very good at removing organic and inorganic molecules, but even that is not 100% efficient. But you can see from the amount of residue that's on the side that it's encountering a heck of a lot of resistance, and that's also indicated by the very slow rate of filtration through there. And the reason why I say it's encountering a lot of resistance is that this is just a paper fiber filter. This is not a compacted sand filter with charcoal that the water has to percolate through. This should go through fairly readily if there's not a heavy load of material being screened out and eventually forming a coating that is making it difficult for the water to pass through. However, you can see the difference between the filtered water on this side, the filtered / settled water, and this, which has the solids partially resuspended. It is settling out again, but that is a fairly time-consuming process. A better way to remove the water that you settle out, let's say that you have a large bottle like this, may be to actually siphon it out from the top. That way you're not going to disturb the solids on the bottom by tilting and agitating the bottle. And if you have a clear tubing, or even if you're just carefully watching what's going on, as you siphon and you get closer to the solids and the solids start to get drawn up into the suction, you'll see the water get darker or discolor, and at that point in time you know that you can either stop the siphoning or just add another layer of filtration. And that will preserve the quality of the filtered water, or the quality of the settled water. Because phase separation is a very useful part of any treatment process, whether it's drinking water or wastewater. So as I'm doing this demonstration, I am contemplating getting a small, maybe about 2-foot length of, it doesn't have to be really thick, or it doesn't have to have a really large diameter. It just has to have a large enough diameter so that it can draw water at a sufficient rate to expedite the process. I mean, you can get a capillary tube and do it, but then you'll be dripping at a slower rate than this. So a piece of rubber tubing is definitely rubber or vinyl or some other material, something that's flexible, something that won't harden or crack if it's exposed to the elements and as it ages. Okay, this is an update on the filtration and the sedimentation. They look very similar. Now that the solids that can settle have settled, and here is the muck that got filtered out. I guess the biggest difference is that this requires a medium in order to achieve this. This just requires time and gravity. And it's also very unlikely that in this one you will resuspend the solids, whereas this one is very easy to resuspend the solids. And the best way to actually remove this without resuspending the solids would be to siphon this water out into a second container, and thereby leaving the solids behind, or at least most of the solids. Oh, there's one other big difference between this one and this one. With this solids layer down there, there's a good chance that an anaerobic state will be set into motion, and other toxins generated by the microorganisms in there can be imparted into the water, such as hydrogen sulfide or sulfide products, which generally form in anaerobic conditions, particularly if this is heavy in any kind of organic material. Okay, so here we are about 18 hours later, and as you can see, the water has cleared tremendously just by sedimentation. You may also see a bit of condensation on the inside surface of the bottle, and essentially the heat of the sun is vaporizing the water, and the water as it rises, the steam essentially, or the vaporous water as it rises, contacts the cool surface of the bottle and condenses. But this just goes to show that sedimentation is a very powerful force in water treatment. And while it may not be crystal clear, and you can see the sediments down there that settled out, it does do a pretty good job of cleaning the heavier material out of the water. Now there is still some dissolved solids in there, and chances are that will not come out of solution by sedimentation. So that's probably colloidal suspension and dissolved solids. And even the filtered water has settled out. So a lot of material passed the filter, but was able to settle out anyway.